Hello and welcome to Contemplando con Cris. Today is our second English episode, and I'm so happy to be on the West Coast. Best Coast. So, Contemplando con Cris. What is this podcast all about? Well, we contemplate together life's things that give us life, things that we love, things that perhaps we fall in love with, and things that bring us joy, and we come with lots of love and light. So today we have a special guest, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. And we met on another continent, far, far away, in 2023.
Yeah, wow. Feels like a long time ago. Hi, I am Jocelyn Kiyomi, but my friends just call me Kiyo. So, hello.
Welcome, Kiyo. So happy to have you on the podcast today. So we love to begin with an affirmation card. And so we have them here. And what I ask you to do is to use your left hand because it's connected to our heart, and to just allow the card that calls to you to be the one you select. And we'll go from there.
Okay. I like this one. Okay. That's the one I got.
All right. Habito mi cuerpo y cuido de él. Le doy las gracias por permitirme experimentar esta existencia humana. So, for our non-Spanish speakers, our English speakers listening to this podcast, I inhabit my body and I take care of it. I give thanks for giving myself permission to experiment the human experience.
Yeah.
What does that say to you? What do you feel?
So I think just like giving thanks, even in like the times where it's really hard, or like, because the human experience just encompasses more than just the good times. It encompasses the bad, and it encompasses the boring, and it encompasses so much. And like giving yourself the space to feel all of the feelings without feeling guilt or feeling like you're doing something wrong, I think is really important. And I think that's a really hard thing to learn just as an individual, and I don't think anyone ever fully learns it. It's just that human experience is learning that as you grow and like mastering different levels of it, right? And so I don't know, I think that can contribute to, like, or can be attributed to a lot of our experiences at every stage of our life. And I think sometimes we often, like, even when we went to Chile, right? I spoke to someone about this, and they had said, who had done the program before, and they said, oh, it was a joke, like, going to Chile, they were running away from something, right? And I don't think I was running away from anything. I think I was just looking for a different experience. And something was funny is going there, I realized that I don't need to move to a whole other country to experience new things. And I think I kind of found that I created the mundane in my own life, that was my own doing. And having the ability to just kind of realize that you are in control of your life, and you can make the choices to make those changes, and you can also choose not to change. And I think it's that, like, realization of who you are, and like they joke around and, oh, it's an existential crisis, but it's not a crisis if you don't let it be. It's just realizing that you're a developing individual, and you're always going to be learning and growing. And I think it's the comfortable that you should be wary of, you know, not the growth part, you know. And there's going to be growth, and then like quiet and comfortability, you know, like after the wave comes there's a wave, get it? But like the wave comes, right? And then there's this like flat that comes after, and it's almost glossy. For reference, for those of you who don't know, I used to surf. So like when you're paddling out to a wave, if you miss the wave, which happens often for inexperienced surfers, you kind of get to see the wave crash over, and then it's just so beautiful and glossy. It's literally like blown glass. And I think it's like the ocean has a really cool way of making that like a life metaphor of like, okay, you catch the wave, and then by the time you come back, you've missed a couple of waves because you're trying to paddle back out to where you catch the waves. And you get to see kind of the beauty of what happens after. And I think like you really have to learn when to, and again, just using surfing metaphors, like you literally have to learn when to paddle out to ride the wave versus when to not. Because like if you paddle out too soon and you're trying to catch the wave but you're too slow, the wave's going to leave without you. And then you're just kind of stuck in this weird in-between, and then more waves are crashing and you're like, oh my God, I'm drowning. And then you have to get your way out of that. And then if you get your timing right, you're able to experience the ride. But then you start the cycle all over, and then that's just life, right? It's like a different type of cycle. And so I don't know. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I think the analogy or metaphor of the waves and surfing, like it's not so much, the question isn't what are you running away from, but what are you running towards?
Yeah.
And like the wave, right? You not run, but you surf towards the shore. Yeah.
So you paddle out to catch the wave, and then you surf towards the shore. And I think just that cycle of recognizing when to ride into the shore, like when you get your timing right, then you know it's right. But you know when it's wrong. Like you know when it's wrong because you see this giant wave gonna crash on you. And I think that's life, right? And like I think that's an art form that some people really master, and of knowing their time, knowing when it's the right time to shut a door, to walk away from something. And I think that's something that humans in general struggle with, is like walking away from something, whether it's a relationship, a job, setting healthy boundaries with family, letting go of like family traditions, things like that, and kind of making it your own. And you don't necessarily have to walk away from it forever. It's just for the time being until the timing is right. And I think and I'm thinking about my mom, if like she heard me say walking away from family traditions, oh my God, like she would freak out. But it's not walking away from a family tradition, it's creating space so that way you can put your own twist on it in a way that would honor your family but also honor you as an individual, because you are not your parents, you are not your siblings, you are your own self. And like I think that's something that our parents do a really good job of, is like, hey, you are my child and I want you to experience life to its fullest, and I'm giving you the foundation of everything you need to be successful. I'm teaching you all of the things we need to know to be a good human being. And you have that foundation, but you have to be able to adjust and build on it so that way you can be yourself, because you're not anyone else,
Yeah. Be yourself. You're not anyone else. I love that. I mean, like, speak your truth, be who you are. And I think it's something that, like, it can be challenging and it can be hard, especially when you have a lived experience that has an identity attached to it. And I speak of this shared experience that we had in this, and so for those of you listening who don't know what the last, I guess, the context of how we met, we did a program that took us abroad, and we were teaching something that we were both passionate about, and it was our career that we decided and we chose. And I think we're very experienced teachers, and something that was like, I guess, a struggle was maybe even a little bit of like, personally, I think I compared myself to like a past self. And like 2016, when I just got my first teaching job was in South America. And so I had this really high expectation for myself. And I think as much as you try to let it go, like, it was still there. And so for me, like, even struggling with your own, like, what what are you going to run towards when you don't know what that looks like, when you are like, you arrive to expectations that are unmet, or just it's completely not anything that you imagined, not what you expected, the experience, the challenge in the daily life.
And but like, I think you're right. Like, our default setting is to go to what's comfortable, to go away. And sometimes our default setting is not the healthiest choice. Our default setting is whatever you were almost like trained to do, and you have to retrain yourself. And I think something that I learned a lot when I was down there is like comparing who you were and understanding who you are now. Like, God, think about when you were like 19 and 20 to now when we're 30. Like, gosh, oh, Lord have mercy. Like, God showed me the way. Like, but what I mean is, like, it's a journey, and you need to just understand that you're always changing. And not only can you not compare yourself or like who you were and like carry the guilt. And I think guilt is healthy. It's normal to have guilt for something that you've done in the past. Because it is. It's like your moral compass is telling you you did something wrong and you need to fix it. But it's shame that really destroys a person. And I think when you move to a new country, like in Chile, and you think about your teaching style, and not just your teaching style, but like your reactions of how you are going to react to any new situation, those are the things where you're like, oh, my default setting was to behave in this way, and I feel really guilty for acting in this way, so I need to change it and be better, right? But then you still carry that shame, even if you know that's not who you are anymore, even though you know your reaction is not to behave in that way anymore. You're just like, oh, and you beat yourself up for something that you did years ago. And it's like, it could be something as simple as like, oh, I threw a tantrum, or like like my husband, for example, when he was little, he like literally ran a tricycle into his grandma, and he still carries like so much guilt and shame over it. But he was like 4, like, you know, and like grandma thought it was hilarious, and she laughed, and she was just like, it's okay. And I think even my mother-in-law, she's probably one of the best people I know. And I think it was like grad school, and I was struggling with the struggles of life, of going to school full time, working full time, and also being in your first year of teaching is just challenging. And for those of you who don't know what your first year of teaching is like, it's like you studied your whole life about sharks, and the next thing you know, they throw you in a shark tank, and you're like, I only read about it in books. Like, I don't know what to do. And that's kind of what teaching is like. And so she kind of just sat down, and she just said, like, you know, you're loved by everyone in you, and like everyone around you loves you, and you just have to understand that it's okay to lean into the people around you and like just let go, like let go of your fears, let go of your anxieties, and like let go of whatever guilt or shame that you have, because you're growing. It's hard, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed. So like stop feeling guilty and stop apologizing because you're feeling in this way. And she said, and it wasn't just her, I think my whole life there's some people who always said, like, you don't need to apologize when you don't hurt someone. Like, you're apologizing for your own hurt, and really the only person you're hurting is you. And who are you apologizing to exactly when you apologize to them, you know? And so it's like having the room to, I don't know, just kind of forgive yourself, and just not even forgive yourself, but give yourself some grace and understanding that, like, it's a growing process. That's what life is. It's a growing process, and you just kind of got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the lows, the highs, and accept that there are a lot of things you can't control, but you can control how you react to them. And I think that's basically what she told me, is like, you can control your reaction, but just be at peace.
I love that. That's a beautiful advice of like And I think of like this image of like chipping away at all that shame and all that guilt. Like it's work. It takes time and it takes work and effort. But ultimately, this idea of you just being loved by everyone around you and I guess in a way like means shedding those expectations of what love might look like too. We could talk about love languages, right? And on how everyone loves differently and being how perhaps the way someone chooses to love you like the way you react might affect them, or it might be I don't know, like it might not feel as like good to receive a gift or something, for example. But I guess when you think of this letting go and like being at peace, when we go through these like transformative experiences or challenges in life, what would you say is something that what's a good like takeaway from your years of experience as a teacher, which can be an experience of transformation, I guess, or like...
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you asked me this question. So I think, oh gosh. Okay. I think teaching, at least personally, has been really healing for me. And I think as a teacher, you know how I was talking about like your default setting when you go through something is like how you were treated and how you were trained as an individual, as a child, as a teen, and eventually, because after a while, like you train yourself, you're an adult at that point, right? And like I think something that and it's hard because like I love my parents so much and they've literally given me the world. So my parents are immigrants here, and my mom especially went through some incredibly challenging experiences, and they poured everything they could into us, but like anyone, there were some holes in the cup. So some of the water spilled out as my parents tried to pour into us, but that comes with life, and I think everyone has some holes and they have to work to patch them up, right?
Yeah.
And I think that those holes, when you pour water into another cup and some of the water just doesn't make it, that becomes your default setting. And what I mean by that is like, and it like, the fact is that yes, my parents gave me the world, but they also had their own struggles and, screaming and I don't know, smacking your child in the mouth because they dropped water on the table, like pimp style, bam, right in the face. Okay, for those like, she still loves me, I still love her, we're still good, but that was rough, right? And so I guess in my mind, I always thought that's just like that reactivity is normal. That's what the expectation is, and it doesn't mean she didn't love me, I think, but that's how she was raised herself. Or like, and I think in, for example, Latina culture, I think often, and this is not for every family, because I'm not going to say it's every family, because it's definitely not, but there's like this weird thing surrounding weight and looks and beauty, and you literally like walk into a family thing, like a family event, and they're just like, oh, it's a little tight on you, isn't it? Like, you look cute. But like, gordita now instead of flaquita. It's just like, fudge. Like, oh, you, and like, but like, and I know it's a term of endearment, but then it kind of like skews your view of so many things, right? And then it creates complexes. And I think about my own mom and how my grandma, like, God, my grandma was in survival mode her entire life. Her entire life she was in survival mode. She was in a really horrible relationship, and she was afraid to walk away from the marriage. And he was incredibly abusive, like violently abusive. And I've told you some of the things that she went through, and it was survival. If she didn't fight, she would have been murdered by my grandfather, my biological grandfather. And, my mom, I think, did a really good job of not getting into a bad relationship like that.
Yeah.
Where she would always say, like, if he is abusive, you leave. Like, you don't stick around and you walk away because like you're worth more than that. And so like she healed that part of herself, you know. And I think when we were in Chile as a teacher, your default setting, and not even just Chile, just your experience of teaching is like when you go, especially because classroom management or like in regular people terms, it's just discipline, right? Like, how do you treat these children? It's how your parents treated you. And I think also there's like that natural, how much patience do you have, right? And so those two combined kind of dictate what kind of teacher you're going to be. And that's something that I've learned. And I think in the same way my mom healed that aspect of her childhood, and God, she had a lot to heal. She's a survivor. My mom she's a survivor. She really is. And like I think about, and we're a very heavy women, like my mom's side, all women except for one boy. And honestly, even then, we are all about female empowerment on my mom's side. And they healed some aspects that I couldn't even imagine. I don't want to imagine going through what they did. And like my mom being the oldest, she raised her little siblings because her mom was always working. And, you know, she paid for a lot of her younger siblings' college and raised 3 kids. And she was also 19 when she had us. And, you know, like where there was always food on the table and she never let us go hungry. So she did a lot for us. Now, there are still things we all need to work on, right? I keep saying that. But I think when it comes to education, it is so important to confront those issues that you might have developed, those bad habits that you've developed. Because when you're in a room full of 35 kids that all come from different backgrounds, that's going to come out. Because you are in charge. You are the adult in charge. And you need to make sure that it's a community, that it functions in a way where children feel safe, they're learning, they're growing, and they also are engaged and they want to learn and meeting their needs. And like, gosh, it's insane. It's project management on steroids, truly. And so I think that's really what I've learned. And like, I think I've been able to heal like reactivity. I think my dad has always been like Zen. Like when my dad got angry, he just got quiet and then he'd like go to the room. And then my mom, when she got angry, it was explosive. And I think it's because that's what she saw growing up and she never learned to regulate that. And now as she's gotten older, she regulates it so much better. And we've had a couple heart-to-hearts and we're still working on it, right? It's still a work in progress. But that was something that runs in all of our family members. We have a tendency to just be reactive and explosive anger and like, and fiercely protective of each other, but also fiercely protective of people who I think are hurt. And my mom was always fiercely protective of people who were hurt. And it was something as simple as like, when I was in elementary school, there was this kid, and just for HIPAA reasons, I will not say his last name, but I will call out and I will say, Michael, you know who you are. He was a bully and he was rude and mean and, he was just the worst. And honestly, none of the teachers liked him. They tried their best and it was very obvious that he was a difficult child. And I'll be honest with you, my mom and his mom also did not get along. They did not get along. It was like water and oil. But my mom was water because she's pure. And he was just being a punk. I think he was bullying some kid. Like, he was just messing with people. And I think he said something really rude to like another kid. And my mom just lost it because she didn't like seeing it. And so my mom, my lovely mother from Echo Park, back in the 80s. And if you know anything about Echo Park in the 80s, it was not a joke. It was intense. So she looked at that child and said, like, you can sit your little ass down. and think about what the hell you just said to that kid, because that was not okay. And she just popped off at this third grader. Oh my God, he was so mean. And I think she did get laid off. She did get a little, or I think she got in trouble at work. And yes, I was an elementary student there, so like everyone knew my mom, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, so and so's mom said this," and I was like, "Oh my God, like what?" And then my mom had come home and told me, like, if you see that little boy bullying anyone, you are not gonna let it fly. It's just not gonna happen. Do you understand? Like, you need to protect yourself and others, and if they're being awful, you need to call them out, because you can't treat people that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that has followed me, and I think that has carried into the classroom of, like, you don't treat people poorly. You don't. They're people. Like, gosh, you need to have some empathy, goodness. And yeah, so that's my experience. And I think even in middle school, like, there was this girl, she had damage to her voice box, like, from a serious accident. Like, it was like a serious accident. I can't say her last name, but her name was Kristen, and she was getting bullied for her voice. And I remember I just snapped at the kid who was saying it, and I also knew him through kindergarten, and I was just like, I think I said something like a stupid middle schooler would say. And then in my yearbook, I still have, like, she wrote, "Thank you for standing up for me," like, in Mr. Summers' English class. And that was it, you know? And I think in the classroom, that's what I like. Obviously, I want our kids to read. I'm an English teacher. I want them to have those critical thinking skills. But I think a cool part of English, and I think it can extend into all of the classes, but English especially, is developing empathy, and not just sympathy, but empathy, and understanding that people come from all kinds of backgrounds, and you need to see them holistically. You can't just see that, like, one-dimensional version of them that you see in that seat. But I think that's kind of the issue that we see in classrooms, is that a lot of the kids, they all have their issues. They all come from different backgrounds, and it's really hard for them to see a three-dimensional version of their peer sitting next to them, in front of them, because they themselves are so involved with what's going on in their life, and they haven't been able to heal themselves because they're kids, you know? And so that's really what I've learned.
And to create that safe space for them too is so important. And I feel like, I mean, I've witnessed it just by living with you, like, and like, I think I always admired the respect that you give your students, and like acknowledging their needs and like where they are, and like really meeting them where they are, and incredibly dedicated. And so I like that Kiyo who stood up for that girl, like you're, you know, that's you, and that's who you are as a teacher, and that's how you show up. And to be able to like channel that, I think what our parents gift us, be it good, bad gifts, like the things that happen to us, and the reactions and all of that, but to be able to honor that within yourself, in the way that you show up.
Yeah, and I think in the example of my mom, like, she's very reactive, or she was, but she was reactive because she hated seeing people being hurt, and I think she was hurt so much as a child that that was there for her, you know. And I feel like I've done a good job of moving away from reactivity, and still doing the right thing, and still like making the right choices, but taking out the reactivity part and injecting the empathy, and like trying to rectify a situation without anger, without malice, and like, actually malice was about poor word choice, but like without anger, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I saw you as a teacher, and I think you as a person too. I think you've always done a really good job of being so, like, you can diffuse situations like no one else. Like, oh my gosh, that is a gift. Like, things would be so tense, and you would diffuse the situation between anything at home or in the classroom, And it was really impressive. Diffusing anything is impressive. It was like, you were a part of the bomb squad, okay? You were an emotional bomb squad, clipping the right wires. And it was impressive. It was really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I think, I don't know, a lot of that diffusion, I guess, comes from experience. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
It's good. It's good.
But, like, you learn, like, as you grow, too. And I think all of those experiences have invited me to grow. And, like, even, like, I know you mentioned, like, just the things that, like, we'll go back to the example you gave of your mom and, like, things that I think you do learn about yourself as a teacher, and you I think you even feel shame too of the way, oh my gosh, like, that wasn't, like, I shouldn't have reacted that way, like, he's gonna remember this for the rest of his life. Like, I taught 5-year-olds, and I was like, that's, like, for me to feel the weight of that, like, you can tell me all day, like, no, he's not going to remember that. Like, it's a blip on the radar, Like, no, but it's so important to, to speak lovingly but when it comes down to it, like, teaching is a profession where you're going to be tested constantly and your patience is going to run dry. And so, I guess just kind of having that ability to ground ourselves in those situations and take those deep breaths. I don't know if you have any tips for our listeners, those valientes that are still teaching and in the trenches.
Some of you I know developed trench foot and how to call it quits, like, for your own life and survival, which I understand. Trench foot is no joke, okay, especially in teaching. And I think, like, just going off of what you said of, like, when you gave that example of, oh my gosh, did I do the right thing? How could I have handled things differently? I think those are signs of good teachers. Mm-hmm. I think if a teacher's like, that was the right thing forever and ever, and that they really believe that, like, they should not be in teaching. Like, that is a red flag. Like, where's my red flag? Just red flag. Like, wave that around. But I think teaching has a way of also bringing out your insecurities of, like, because you do overthink and you do say, like, oh my gosh, did I do the right thing? Should I handle things differently? How would someone else have handled it? And you find yourself going to other people and, like, giving them the situation of, like, did I do the right thing? Like, you want that validation, and sometimes they'll give it to you, other times they'll be like, I don't think that's how you should handle it, and so it's a heavy job. But I think too of, like, how do you handle kids who make your patience run dry? And, like, sometimes it's not even the kids individually, and it's just, like, all of it, because you're always on. You're just, like, going from class to class to class, and you're always on. Like, it doesn't turn off. And this is something I've talked to friends who work office jobs, and, like, and she's like, oh yeah, like, when I'm tired, I just kind of do a stretch and go to the water cooler in the bathroom, take 10 minutes and come back. And, like, we can't do that. Like, what are we going to do? Leave, like, 30 kids in a room alone? Like, wreak havoc. They want to wreak havoc. And, that's not fair. I know some classes wouldn't, but especially for you elementary teachers, like, you can't do that. Like, at least for me in high school, I can be like, this is an emergency. I need to go, and I'll come back 5 minutes later and they're still doing the same thing. And you always have, like, one kid who's just ridiculous. But that's, and that's not all the time. But I think something I've learned, especially this year, oh my gosh, my school was wild. Like, absolutely wild. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, this is just, like, a really sick sitcom. Like, this could not be real life. Like I told you, like, there was a kid who overdosed in my class, and then there was, like, the other kid who, like, came to school on drugs and brought a gun, and, like, or, like, you know what I mean? And then a couple days later, he brought a knife, and I was like, what what is this? Like, what weird dimension have I walked into? And so those are like really extreme situations, right? But then I think about the other ones where like they're just smelly. And just for reference, I teach, like, I think I have 2 girls or 3 girls per class, if that. And this past year, my 5th period class, boy, did they test me. I had 1 girl in the entire class, and actually, no, I had 2, but one of them never came to school. And I remember I was talking to my co-teacher, and he's like, dude, can you blame her? There's 30 boys. Like, I wouldn't come to school either. And I think it was through this experience and where I've really learned to laugh of like, they test your patience, but then you kind of have to find the humor in some of it. And obviously you can't find the humor in all of it, but there's times where it's just like, you did. And you just kind of got to laugh, and you laugh with them. Yeah. And that happened a lot this year. Where I just kind of laugh with them. Never at them, but with them. And that was really helpful. And those are the moments that I think really bond you to the kids. And like this one kid did, gosh, he was so bad. And I think, but he really wasn't like, he's a good kid. He's just going through a lot. Okay. And I think I had asked him to put his phone away, and he didn't do it. And just like the second time I said, hey, I caught you on your phone, put it on my desk. And he didn't do it. And so I walked around again, and I saw the phone. I was like, hey, I'm going to put your phone on my desk. So I grabbed the phone, and he was like, you bitch over a phone. And I was like, that was so unnecessary and uncalled for, sir. And he looked at me, and he's like, well, you are. And I said, I am, like, that's actually really hurtful, because I've been nothing but really respectful and kind to you all year. So we're going to talk after class, and you can think on that. But by the end of the year, I remember I was talking to him. It was like the last day of school, or like the second to last day of school. And I saw him, and he said, oh, miss, can I be your TA next year? And I said, oh, are you going to call me the B word again? He's like, oh, whoa. Are we living in the past, or are we looking towards our future? And I've literally told them that all year of like, don't live in the past. We're looking to our future. Like, make the right choices. If you didn't make the right choices last class, make the right choices this class. And like, he literally like, but it was like, dang, so you did remember what I said, and you were hearing it even though your head was down. Like, you were listening, like, even through your sleep, like, you were just making it. And you know what? I'll take it. And like, I think the other thing my dad has kind of, honestly, I think my dad would have made a really good teacher. I do. I think he would have gone through his trials, but I think he is really patient in a lot of ways. And I remember I was complaining. I was like, oh my God, these kids, they don't care about their education. Like, they don't even want to be here. Wah, wah, wah. And my dad was like, first of all, stop complaining. It's a job, and you're lucky to have a career. Second of all, he's like, I failed all of my classes in 9th grade, like every single one. And I was like, gosh. What? And he's like, yeah, like I was a 14-year-old boy who didn't care and literally failed all of my classes. And I was like, you didn't even pass PE? He's like, I didn't even go to PE. And he said that like, it was a wake-up call when he realized, oh crap, I have to go to summer school for the rest of my high school career.
Because
and he said,
of everything.
Yeah, and like I guess his sophomore year he ended up being in a class with his little sister. Oh. And he said it was like the most embarrassing experience of his life. And he's like, I don't know, or maybe he was like a junior because they're a couple years apart. And he was like almost like 18, an 18-year-old man in a class with like, she's what, like 4 years younger. So she was a freshman, and he was like literally in her class. And he said like, that was really embarrassing. And he said like, he obviously doesn't remember anything in 9th grade year because he failed out, and he's very honest about it. But he did say like, he remembers the advice his teachers gave him. Mm-hmm. And he said like, that kind of gave him the fuel to keep moving forward. And he's like, oh, my teachers probably don't remember me, but like I remember the ones that actually like cared, or like the ones who just like kept telling me to push forward. And he's like, I probably didn't like them because they kept pushing, but like at the end when I grew up and I developed when my frontal lobe developed a little more, like he was able to see and understand what they were saying. And that's what I really hope for these kids. And as they grow up, and I'm hoping, like, you know, that they see their future and that they are not tied to their past. And I think a lot of the time you surround yourself with things that you're used to because you don't even realize. It's like Plato's cave, right? They were stuck in the dang cave. Gosh, if you guys read Plato's Cave, correct me if I'm wrong, because, like, you know what I mean? But the cave was all they knew. They could have left, they could have exited, but that was all they knew, and they stayed there. And I think that happens with us as people. You could exit the cave and then you could walk 20 feet and stay there your entire life still. And, like, you need to understand it's a whole big wide world out there, and you are not tied down to your parents' decisions. You are not tied down to your siblings' decisions. You can control your life. Goodness, you are in charge of your own decisions. You are in control of your life. And I think that is something that they need to understand. So
I love that. Take the power back. Take that control of your life, like, and to be able to prepare a generation to do that. That's some powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Good. Snaps to you, claps to you. Way to go. I love hearing about how you empower your students. And I think those are the kind of teachers we need in the world. And, like, to continue that.
Yeah, but like, I think those are the teachers that are leaving. I mean, Lord knows we've talked about leaving enough times.
Yeah.
Because, like,
the ones
districts pay your teachers money, livable wages, not just peanuts, okay? And do not say, oh, but they get good health insurance. Health insurance does not pay the rent. And I think that, especially, I think Catholic schools have a place in education. They do, and they provide a safe space for kids who don't have safe public schools, and that's a given, right? But stop abusing your workers.
Yeah.
Like, you do it in the name of God, and I know for a fact God would not want you keeping little Karen, who is 21 years old, from 7:30 a.m. till 7 p.m. Like, what? You're not paying her. You're exploiting her. And I think as a Catholic school teacher where I worked, I really loved the community. I liked my boss. I liked my experience there. And I think it...
Oh, we're back. We had a teaching moment there with someone here. With a child.
Yeah.
Lovely. So circling back to this idea of, not idea, it's a reality that the Catholic schools live, and, like, Catholic school teachers are often underpaid, overworked, and just kind of, Yeah.
And I think it's not just Catholic school teachers. I think it's just kind of all teachers. And there are some districts that do a really great job. And, like, my district pays me well for what I do. And I mean, obviously everyone wants to get paid more, but, like, I do think, they may pay you well, but it's not enough to deal with some of the things that you're going through. And, like, Catholic school, especially because they're already so severely underfunded. I don't know the ins and outs of, like, how the Archdiocese allocates money to schools or how it really functions. I've never actually looked into that. But, like, I struggle because there are some parishes who are in real desperate need, and they don't have the funds to better their school. And, like, I remember our sisters, gosh, they're incredible. Like, the amount of money that they raise to, like, I swear they were sending, like, 8 or 9 kids on full scholarship to our school. It was incredible individuals, truly. But it's also, like, we also had a father who, like, locked the children inside of a really hot building because he didn't like how loud they were being. And it was like, you just slammed the door on them in, like, 100-degree weather. Like, what are you trying to do? And those are the things where it's like, we really need to think about who are we serving? Because how can you do that when you claim to serve a God who's so loving? Let's think about that for a second, you know? And obviously not everyone's like that. I've met such incredible priests and sisters, and they're really wonderful people, but I think we need to stop getting lost in the bureaucracy. That's really what it is, and
Yeah.
it's just not okay. And
Yeah, there's so much, I think, behind, like, I feel like as Catholic school teacher, we've talked a lot. I've talked a lot in the past with other teachers of just like how it's a business. Like, you know, it's not so much at the end of the day like what. I think you just kind of lose the humanity, and you lose that holistic view that you mentioned earlier, and it's so important to just to be advocates for that, you know, and like, and I think there's only so much that we can control as far as being advocates for those spaces, but like what we have control of is our little bubble of the classroom, you know, and being those people in those schools, and to always, I think my mom has taught me she's always like, it's unjust, I'm gonna speak up. Like, you're not allowed to just escort that person out and not give anyone any kind of explanation when that person was good, that person was a great leader, that person did this, that person did that. Like, where's the good that you're missing the good, you know? And like, I think it's sadly a part of like just society and systems that sometimes they focus in on the bad, and that's it. And then they just, I'm like, wait a minute. That was a really good like pick for that role. Or like, what if you had given them more time? What if you take a look at the growth that they left, like, or maybe even after they leave, like, what's in place, what stays. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a complete side thought, but
I know
it
made perfect sense. Oh my gosh. And I think like, I think what Catholic schools do better than public schools, what they do incredibly well is build community in their schools. Yeah, it's really impressive. The school I was at, I think about that community, and like I'm still friends with teachers. For goodness sake, my mentor teacher when I started teaching, she's like a second mom to me. Like, I lived with her for 5 years, okay? Wow. And like, and she also rents another like house next door to people she met at work. So it's a really tight-knit community. Like, it's not just, I teach them, I go home. And I think a lot of the time public school is just like, ciao, ciao. Like, we're done, and I'm never going to see you again. So, like, I think Catholic school gives that benefit. And I've even talked to my husband, and I was like, I think if we're going to have a kid, I want them to go through a K through 8 Catholic school. I think it just sets this foundation for them. But it's not because public schools are bad. Yeah. Okay. And there are some bad public schools, but I think especially like teachers who are like, public school, that's why I would never go to public school, and or like send my kids there. And it's like, honestly, some of the teachers there are much better than the Catholic school teachers. They're highly educated, highly trained. And I think even at like my Catholic school, no one had a credential. Like, no one, maybe 2 people. 2 people had a credential. 2. One of them didn't even have a bachelor's degree. Like, and so not that they were bad teachers, but I think in comparison, like, they had really good practices in some of the public schools, you know? And so I get really heated when people say like, oh, this Catholic school is just better. Like, I would never send my kid there. And that's fair. Sometimes some of those public schools are bad, but you can't group them all together, because it's the same way with Catholic schools. Like, saying all Catholic schools are so much better than all like public schools, which is a lie, because our Catholic school, most of them were severely like under grade level. They were below grade level consistently. And that's for a number of reasons. And so it wasn't just that we had bad teachers, because that wasn't true. We had some pretty good teachers, but there's other things that go into developing a child. And obviously, if you're sending your kid to Catholic school, your parent is involved in some way in your life. They're investing in your future. And a lot of the kids who go to public schools, probably because they didn't have the funds to go to a Catholic school, you know? And like that has an impact. How your parents like pour into you has an impact on your development. So I guess what I'm saying is like, you can compare public and Catholic schools, and there's benefits to both. But just saying all public schools are bad and I'm never going to teach in a public school because they're just bad, like, no, I honestly think teaching in my Catholic school was much harder than the school I'm teaching at now. And I already gave you the context of the school I was teaching at. Yeah. Like the Catholic school I worked at was one of the most challenging was the most challenging school I have ever taught at. Yeah. And I think it was just like lack of boundaries, lack of rules. Like kids just kind of ran wild, and then you'd send them to the principal's office after they threw a chair across the classroom. And then they'd come back with a literal dum-dum in their mouth. And that was really disheartening because you're looking for support and you don't have any. And that was a real story, by the way. Like, I had an observer come in. Yeah. During my observation, this child thought my observer was observing him. He picked up his chair, threw it across the classroom, and hit another child with the chair. And it was just pandemonium. And... then he was escorted out by my observer. Or no, I escorted him out. It was wild. And he was sent back to class.
Right. Like nothing.
And it was because he was having a rough day. So,
yeah.
There's one thing to set boundaries. There's to teach them, like, that you can't do that. It's another to just enable them. And I think that's what was going on. And honestly, I don't know if you're going to keep this in here because I'm just like, I don't know. I know it can be very heated, especially coming from the Catholic sphere of like...
I mean, but it's very real. And I think
it is.
It's a topic that can be debated and people can... But, you know, ultimately, like, I think it all comes down to how you choose to nurture a child and how you choose to raise them, like yourself, right? Like that's your own personal decision where you send them, but acknowledging all the pros and the cons and not completely like, I think it's a very common misconception to just no, not at all gonna even consider it because of this and that. It happened this and there, and it's not the same story for everyone.
Exactly.
Everywhere. So thank you for sharing that and like acknowledging that too, because it's true. It's the truth. So
would you recommend teaching to someone who is looking into the career?
Would I recommend teaching? I think your perspective today is probably the first time I've ever heard anyone like describe teaching as like a mirror and like seeing the things in you that come up as you are in this position, right, of authority, and becoming someone who's like wears so many hats. I think someone who is a creator would make a good teacher. I think you have, depending on the space that you are given, the flexibility you're given, and where you land, right? Like there is a lot of opportunity for you to create a space that's welcoming and safe and secure for children. Like I think you have to come into it with a lot of love, a lot of grace for yourself and for the children. A lot of people will, I think the biggest comment of like, oh, I can never do that, I'm not patient. Or you must be so patient. Like, well, I mean, I'm not perfect and I also have a limit. Like, and I think for, I guess I would probably recommend them to just equip themselves with as many tools as possible. Yeah. And as many understanding the realities, and that it's more of a like, you have to understand that every child has a completely different lens, has their own world attached to them, and be willing to work on that. And what makes a good teacher is someone who can see that and not be like driven by the system and driven to meet the whatever goal. Because I think that if you focus on that, you can actually turn yourself into like, I don't want to say monster, but like you can, because it's so ingrained in the school system, like to be cranking out, whatever. I don't know. And I think I feel like there are differences, right, amongst the private sector and the public sector. But to just kind of be someone who can kind of see the whole picture, I think that's really important. And also, if you're considering it or if you want to be one, like, I think the biggest takeaway is that if with any career is that you can always evolve and change, and that is okay. And you are not married to this forever.
And
like,
it's just a job.
It's just a job. It's just a job. Yeah. So, but you have to be okay with enjoying all of that comes with it. Yeah. And there are things that are not taught to you, like when you're in college, like you said, getting in the Shark Tank. Like, it's literally what it is, because no one ever told you about, like, I mean, goodness, there's so much more. I think in our master's courseworks, maybe we talk a lot more about diversity and inclusion and like things that are relevant and pertinent to what we see every day. That in undergrad, at least for myself, it was just strictly teaching this, how you teach this subject. And like the practice was with other adults, like not a child.
Oh, yeah.
And just getting in the classroom as much as possible. Observe until from day one, and you'll just know
good teachers.
Yeah.
Because not you've watched Matilda, teachers. Right? Like, not, is it Turnbull? Like, don't watch those Turnbulls, okay? Don't watch them. Terrible. But like, if you, you're right. Like observing, volunteering, working with kids. That's so important. Like, if you don't like kids, don't go into teaching.
No. Yeah.
And, like, if you like kids, but you also don't like being a project manager, don't go into teaching.
Yeah.
If you want to do, like, a more holistic approach, you look at other facets of teaching. Or, like, be a therapist, not a teacher. And, like, even with, like, school counseling, too, like, a lot of the school counselors don't really get to see. And I remember having this conversation because I was like, I think I'm getting a little tired of teaching. Maybe I'll go to a different facet in education.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a couple of counselors, and one was like, actually, you know the kids better than I do. Like, I just give them their schedules and, like, call CPS when I need to. But, like, I don't know them the way you do. Because you see them every day. Just like I see them once every couple of months. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. So your job is so much paperwork and doing all the other admin stuff that kind of gets pushed around. So education is definitely wide. And there's other things that you could do to start working with kids. I think the happiest people I've met were speech pathologists. And gosh, school psychologists. Although I have met some cranky ones, but a lot of the school psychologists really like their job, and they work a lot with like students who have IEPs. If you don't know what an IEP is, it's students with like special accommodations. And so there's other things you can do. Yeah. Teaching is just very demanding, and I remember, and so was being a counselor, but like I remember our school counselor was like, yeah, but at least I can go to the bathroom when I want. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And I like what you said about, like, you just kind of have to think about, like, what you want. Even for your kids, for yourself, it's so important. You have to keep that in mind. Yeah. And when we talk about education is a flawed system. Private or public. I think Catholic schools especially do a great job doing exactly what you said, of like understanding the children, of being empathetic, being loving. because there's smaller class sizes, and a lot of the time the kids track together all the years. Yeah. And with public school, it's so big that every year you get a new set of kids that you've never seen before. And that's from a student perspective of like, I didn't know you before. And so there's obvious benefits between the two. You just kind of think about the personality of your child. That is so important. Like I had a friend who did place with me. Yeah. And she went to a school that was huge. It was a very big public school, but it was also an incredible public school where I think and they had about 600 or 700 kids per class. And she said about like 50 of them would go to like top universities, Berkeley, Harvard, Yale, Cornell. Wow. Like that's a ton of kids getting into those top universities. That's insane, because usually like it's what, like
select few,
3, 4 at most. And like it was a great public school. Now, maybe it was probably a little less than 100. I don't know. But it was like a good chunk. It was like a huge percentage. And I was like, dang. She was not thriving there. She wasn't thriving there. It was too big. It was too, like, she didn't. Her sisters went incredibly well. I think one of her sisters literally did a TED Talk. And she went to this high school. Like, she's so smart, and she did extremely well. She did a TED Talk on, like, this research of, like, catching mist for drinkable water in, like, Africa. Like the continent of Africa. And she did research like that. Yeah. And that was from a public school. However, my friend, she felt like she was drowning. She said she would always compare it to being a small fish in a big pond. You have more exposure, more experiences, so you realize how insignificant you are. But then her mom said, I think you should go to this all-girl Catholic school. It's smaller, and I think you would just do better. So at first she didn't want to go, and then her mom's like, you don't have a choice. So they switched her. And she ended up being the valedictorian, and she got a full-ride scholarship to one of the colleges, to the Cal State colleges. And it was like a premier scholarship that she got. And she completely turned it around, and I think when she said, like, no, it's important. And I agree with her. It is important to understand that there's a level of insignificance in all of us. Like, we're just another human being. Like, we're not that special. And it's important. Like, my host mom, shout out to Luli, she would say, like, the one thing she wants her kids to know is that you're special, but you're not special to everyone. Like, you need to know that. And because then you're going to make these, like, demands as if you should be treated differently. And you know, but then on the flip side, if you feel so insignificant, it can create this like really dark pit, and it's dangerous for teenagers. And I think that's where my friend was. So when she went into this Catholic school, she felt seen, loved, and heard, and she excelled, you know. And so like her sisters did completely fine. They were excellent. They went to public school. She wasn't doing well. She went to private school, and she was also doing excellent. The personality of your children matter. They're not just another part of you, and they're not an extension of you. They are a different human being that you gave birth to. They are not you. And I think that's something that people struggle with, to understand that your child, you are developing another human being. You're not developing an extension of yourself.
And how important it is to honor that and what each one needs to. And to be able to make that switch for your child, I think that was a good choice, and the right choice in that moment. And I think something I feel like I've learned from you in the time that we've known each other is like, it was the right choice in that moment.
Oh God!
And it's such a great quote, and I love that. I think we've seen it like lived out in many different ways in our lives, and I don't know. I think all of these things are part of the human experience, and the card that you pulled at the beginning was just giving yourself permission to really like experience that human experience, and so we're all just here.
And like give gratitude, right? Wasn't that part of it?
Yeah. Giving thanks, right, to your body that you inhabit, like, here in this moment and in this human experience. So I guess, dearest Kiyo, as we bid adieu to Morro Bay here on the West Coast, there were some otters playing around. I don't know. I don't think you can see them from the camera, but they're so cute. I love the otters and their playfulness and like how they just live in what I've seen.
They're literally, they're called an otter raft. And there's like signs that says, do not approach otter rafts. And like they just hold each other. It's so cute. And like they just, otters enjoy their experience for sure. Like they're holding each other's hands, keeping their pet rocks. Like I don't know if you're going to edit that part out.
I love
don't know
that.
why my brain went there,
otters, I think, are
great.
a good example for how we should, hold on to one another when we need each other and to have those tools, those pet rocks in life when we need them.
And dump it when you don't. Like,
yeah.
I like that they'll choose a rock, they'll keep it forever how long, and then when they don't need it anymore, they feel like they outgrew it, they just, or then when they find something that fits them better, they'll grab the other one and dump the old one. And I think that's what we need to do with ourselves, is like shed our old selves, because we've created a new version of ourselves that contributes to the world around us and to ourselves and to others. I guess that's what the world around us means, but
yeah. So what would you say is like just one piece of advice, or I guess your takeaway from today's conversation in this idea of, I loved how you said like shed the old self and like kind of walk into that new, and you had talked about surfing earlier and like in going into the wave, right? And it's not about what we are running away from. It's what we're running towards. So what does that look? What does that look like for you? What are you running towards? Maybe that's too deep. Maybe touch the stuff.
I think I don't know what I'm running towards at this moment. I think I think in general, just what I got from the conversation is just understanding that life is dynamic. Life is always changing, and you have to be able to read the changes and read where you need to be. Stop fighting where you're supposed to be, because it's like the universe, God, and whoever you believe in, because I don't want to say like everyone's Catholic, because that's not fair. That's not fair. Not everyone is Catholic. But like in my case, I think in my personal case, I think God will shut doors when it's meant to be shut, and he'll force you into a path that you're meant to be on. And if you fight it, it's gonna be painful. Like, so just enjoy the ride. Don't fight it. Like, please stop fighting. Just understand that life is supposed to change. And stop holding on to the old. Like, you can have that. You can have the past, but you can't grip onto it so tightly that it's not allowing you, it's giving you tunnel vision, And I think whether it's in education or other facets of life, because I think education spills over into how we develop as people. We have to understand that, like, who you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, it's not who you are now. And you have to be able to let go of that old version and all those things that were a part of you, not forget them, but let it go.
Yeah.
So you can heal or grow from that. And I always tell this to, like, I was having this conversation the other day of, like, I feel like a couple of years you break out of this weird bubble that you were in, and then you enter a new bubble, and like it's a matter of like breaking through these pockets of air to find the best version of yourself. And that's what life is about, is like making the best version of yourself so you can contribute to each other, to the people around you, and just to the world in general, and like whatever that looks like to you in your space. I think that's why we're here, right? Like, we're all here with a purpose, and not just one purpose, And I think some people are like, this is my one and only purpose in life. And it's like, I don't think anyone has one singular purpose in their entire life. I think there's many, many things that you have to do throughout your lifetime. For those of you who couldn't see that, like, an otter just like choked on water and made like a crazy sound.
Are you okay? He's going.
Oh, I think, is that the one that was like
They are.
its baby yesterday? It was so cute.
They are being playful. Be like otters, people. Live your life, Live the human experience, and
Yeah.
And
but still hold on to each other.
Yeah, still hold on to each other and striving to be that best version of yourself. And I think that's just every day, And it can look different every day too.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace, mi gente. Well, thank you, Kiyo, for joining today.
It's an
Thank
honor.
you for this. Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So special to have you and to be on this journey of life together, to have crossed paths. And to be road tripping along the West Coast. It's been great. So thank you so much.
And thank you for first having me on this podcast. An honor. Okay, a real honor. But I think on a deeper level, for pushing me to be a better version of myself, even when you didn't realize it. I think you have this ability, and it's just who you are. You give off a lot of healing energy, but not just that. It's just you're just you, and being around you, kind of you yourself are this mirror that reflects back of who you are, and I think that allows people to become this better version of themselves. And so I really appreciate that in our friendship, and challenging each other to be a better version of who we are. So find people who make you a better version of who you are. Life is too short to surround yourself with awful people. Yeah.
Grateful for you. And we're wearing matching hoodies, by the way.
We are. This is the back. I spilled spaghetti on myself yesterday and I didn't want to show it.
Go to the Channel Islands. This is a shout out to them.
And kayak, but just don't do it with Artie. He's angry.
And wear a Windbreaker Rainjacket.
Oh my gosh.
Rainjacket. So we got so wet.
Yeah. And apparently get in line 2 hours before.
Actually, I'm gonna link below the Nausea relief essence rings we used.
Yeah.
Those are pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with those. But thank you again, Kiyo. And
thank you.
See you soon.
Yeah.
On the next adventure.
I'm excited.
Have a great day, evening, afternoon, week, month, year, all of it. Thanks for tuning in.